What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video we're going to be ranking from worst to best every single Studio Series figure which has so far been released in 2023 for the Transformers Rise of the Beasts movie. So we very recently just saw a brand new wave of movie figures which helped to round off pretty much the Maximals, the Terrorcons and the best part of the Autobots, until eventually Wheeljack gets a release next year. So I thought it'd be cool just kind of to reshuffle the list around, see how they all stack up alongside one another. I'd also love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to sound off, let me know your own personal rankings. Now we have in total 13 entries on this list. It's the biggest Rise of the Beast ranking video that I've done so far, so let's get cracking. Now, taking spot number 13, really to nobody's surprise, is Maximal Air Razer. Now, to be honest, there's not really much else to say which I haven't already previously mentioned in a past ranking video. Overall, I think she's a really solid figure, which I know is kind of surprising to say considering she has been ranked last, but the figure unfortunately just is not accurate to the CG design whatsoever. Although with that being said, since the release of the movie, a deleted scene has come out which has depicted Air Razer's original design matching very closely to this figure's base mode, so I guess technically it is accurate to something, and with Studio Series concepts now being a thing, I guess this could kind of work. Overall though, it's a very well made figure, great detailing and some pretty decent posability, but it's definitely one that needs to be revisited in the future with hopefully some unique engineering like we all saw from the mainline counterpart, as between the mainline and the Studio Series version, I think mainline may just have the better, superior looking beast mode. In spot number 12, following very closely in front of Air Razer, we have Core Class RC. Now this is not a terrible core class, but much like Air Razer, this is a character that I definitely think needs to be revisited, maybe as a small deluxe class with perhaps an advanced conversion, and maybe finally 2 weapon blasters. The figure's design is confined to the restraints of a core class budget, so she uses a fake chest which results in a huge ass backpack, the articulation is very limited, and the wheel placement is pretty clunky, and it's quite inaccurate to what we primarily saw in the movie, with the exception of maybe one scene when she's battling against Battletrap, kind of swinging off the side of Wheeljack, which was awesome, but I think primarily they were always stacked up behind her shoulders. I really think this is a case where the mainline weaponizer overall is a much better stand-in, as I think detail-wise it is superior, and it's also one of the best RC designs that we've had for this character, so it would be awesome to have a better, more accurate representation of it, and not that it's really a huge deal, but maybe with a deluxe class budget we can get a slightly better looking bike mode, and one that is an officially licensed Ducati. Now taking a joint spot at number 11 is Terrorcon Freezer and Novocaine. These are technically the most accurate figures that we've so far seen for the Rise of the Beast subline, although they do come with an unfair advantage, and that being they never actually transformed in the movie. But with that being said, their robot mode designs are pretty awesome. They really reminded me of something ripped straight out of the Bayverse. Their paint detail is pretty sick for their size class, and they are very decently articulated, although in the case of Freezer, I found the ball joints to become very loose very quickly, so that kind of sucked. I did think it was cool though that there are 2 variations of Scourge's sweeps, much like we see before the amazing museum battle. So for example, Novocaine has this really sick slash going across his face, which I think is a pretty neat touch, as it means that you're not basically buying the same figure twice. Their alt modes, however, absolutely suck. You know, as I said, they never transformed in the movie, because this is Studio Series, Hasbro always have to give them some kind of alt mode, so that is ultimately why I have detracted points from these guys and have ranked them so lowly, because as I said, they have an unfair advantage. They never transformed in the movie. Taking spot number 10 is Noah Diaz's Exo Suit. Personally, I thought the Exo Suit in the movie was a fantastic addition. It really allowed Noah to hold his own against some Terrorcon threats, and it was wicked to see him throwing it down alongside Optimus Prime against Scourge and the Scorponok. You know, that was badass. It was wicked to see the humans actually utilised in this movie, and they were pretty effective. I think for core class, this has got to be one of the best that we've so far seen for the Rise of the Beast lineup. I thought it was a fantastic move by the designers to integrate detachable jet kibble, giving collectors the option between screen accuracy and a Studio Series figure which can actually still transform. The Exo Suit is super nicely detailed, wickedly articulated. This can pull off some poses that I struggle to get from leader class figures, so that's definitely pretty neat. And Noah really was an essential part of the movie, so it's wicked to finally see the human characters see some pretty banging representation in Studio Series. Now we're going to get stuck into spot number 9, and how it pains me to do this, but I have to give this to Deluxe Class Mirage. I thought his character in the movie was fantastic, definitely one of the coolest Autobots that we've had in a long time. So to say that I was excited for this Studio Series figure was an understatement, and let's just say it's okay at best. The robot mode is pretty nicely detailed, and I think out of all of his figures, including the mainline release, it's still clearly the best. But considering his design in the movie was super sleek, and I believe this is the first officially licensed Porsche vehicle we've ever had in the line, the robot mode did unfortunately suffer quite a bit. The transformation though, I think is even worse. It is kind of treading into nightmare territory, because for some reason they cast like 60% of this figure in clear plastic. That means that every single step is pretty much cringeworthy, and he is without a doubt one of the most involved deluxe figures I think we've had in a while. But with that being said, the vehicle mode is fantastic, and if we were solely basing this on his alt mode, hands down Mirage would probably be the clear winner out of the entire Studio Series line. Every single detail has been nailed perfectly. The silver finish looks sick, and I like all of the small Porsche details along the side of the vehicle and the hood. It makes me super pumped for maybe an MP Jazz in the future. Takara Tomy, please, that would be absolutely awesome. But in all, again, this is definitely a case where I think this character needs to be revisited in the future, maybe as his Formula 1 car that we did very briefly see him kind of transform into in the movie. Hopefully that will allow for more focus on the robot mode design than the vehicle, as that sadly was not the case here for this figure. Now we jump into spot number 8, and this had to be given to Terrorcon Nightbird. Now this is a pretty decent attempt at what has got to be one of the sleekest designs in the whole movie, and I think it turned out just okay at best. The robot mode is clearly a reshell of the mainline release, which personally I thought was a pretty cool figure, but this has its drawbacks. For example, all of the limitations regarding her articulation are still present. The figure really doesn't improve much in the engineering department, with the exception of her now including the movie accurate wing. And the backpack is kind of a floppy nightmare. Not only is it huge, but it doesn't really tab in properly, meaning that when you're posing her, it can become super annoying. But with that being said, the details are way more sharp on this Studio Series version, and this does actually transform into an officially licensed Nissan Skyline GTR, which alongside Mirage's Porsche were two of the best vehicle modes in the entire film. Every single detail on the car is on point, and it really does just suck that with the exception of maybe one scene, we never really saw her utilise this more on screen. Now, as we jump into spot number 7, I had to give this to Cheetah. Now is really where we get stuck into some of the juicy Maximals. Pretty much from here onwards, we have for the most part some home runs. So Cheetah, I think, is wicked. The robot form, whilst very briefly utilised in the movie, is sleek and for the most part super accurate. The articulation is awesome, and equipped with the staff can pull off some pretty badass poses. I also like how the design calls for a complete reimagining of Cheetah's transformation. The beast head flipping inside the chest instead of outside I thought was really clever and cool, and the transformation in all I think really is just a blast from start to finish. I also really like how some of the leftover pieces, such as the beast mode tail, flips up on the back of the robot mode to kind of become a pretty convincing spinal column, and the beast mode is good, but I think is the weaker out of his two modes. The posability sadly is not great, and I still think the colour is a little too dark when compared to the movie, but it still works. I also think the head shape is a little off, but that could just be something I take issue with. Overall, it's a really solid release, and it's definitely one of the highlights that I've so far checked out for the Rise of the Beast line. Which leads me to spot number 6, Rinox. This figure I think is brilliant, and to be fair, both Cheetah and Rinox are kind of interchangeable in the spots they rank, as overall I really think they are both as good as each other. Rinox's robot mode, much like Cheetah's, unfortunately wasn't utilised much on screen, but this is super accurate. I like that he actually looks like a literal tank on legs, super broad upper torso with loads of sculpting in detail to really give you the impression of the battle damage that he has sustained. The way he's designed also is very clever, because whilst he's easily recognisable as Beast Wars Rinox, much like Cheetah, the transformation has been completely re-engineered to integrate new steps, such as the beast head again folding inside the chest. The mallet weapon is neat, but I wish it were bigger, and the transformation is pretty straightforward, which results in what I think has to be one of the best beast modes that we have so far seen for the Studio Series line. Seriously, this thing looks epic, so nicely proportioned. Even the underside of the stomach is anatomically correct to a real-life rhino, and the posability isn't too bad either. Despite him being a bit of a chunky dude, he's definitely one of the best Rise of the Beast Maximals alongside Cheetah that I've checked out so far. Now coming in at spot number 5, this has to be given to Battletrap. Someone give this guy a real fight. This is seriously one of the best Terrorcons that I think they've so far made, and trust me, I was debating whether or not to swap him with the next spot because he is seriously just that good. Robot mode wise seems to be almost smack on to what we saw on screen. My only real complaint would be the lack of a machine gun accessory and the underarm kibble coming across as a little untidy, but the rest of the robot mode is so detailed. For me, it was really cool to see these Transformers actually have alt mode pieces integrated into their designs, unlike some of the more recent Michael Bay movies. This is kind of a great reset to what we were seeing from some of the Decepticons in the OG 2007 movie and the Revenge of the Fallen film. The transformation is cool, quite unique for this character, and the truck mode I'd say is pretty much solid, with again the exception of some untidy areas such as the back. Overall though, this really isn't a Terrorcon I can see them revisiting anytime soon because it really is just that good. Now, as we jump into the 4th spot, this had to be given to the leader of the Terrorcons, Scourge. Now, this is the 3rd time that I've ranked this guy, so to be fair, there's not much else I can say that I haven't done so already. Overall, I think this guy has a sick robot mode design. Yes, there are some inaccuracies, but to be fair, that's kind of expected from movie figures, especially when their release does coincide with the drop of the film, and even then, I think they got it pretty close to what we did see on the big screen. I am excited though for the upcoming DNA design upgrade kit, as it does look like it will pretty much fix all of the issues that I do have with this guy by replacing the head sculpt for something which is way closer to the film, and by giving him some additional gap fillers to help thicken out those skinny ass legs. The transformation is 50-50, half of it is what you would expect from a leader class, whereas the other half is kind of lazy. Unfortunately, that crack on his back is just getting worse and worse, and I really have no idea why they decided to completely cast it in clear plastic, but the truck mode is cool, looks like something ripped straight out of Transformers hell, if that's something which even exists. Super formidable and quite imposing. I love the faction details on the front end of the grille, that is so sick. But yeah, it's a decent attempt at what is in my opinion one of the best live action movie villains, but roll on the release of that DNA design kit, as I cannot wait to upgrade him to something which is even more superior. Taking spot number 3 had to be given to Optimus Primal. Finally, the leader of the Maximals is here, and this was a really tough call to place him in 3rd spot, as I think he is overall just so epic. The robot mode without a doubt is the best transforming Primal we've ever had, even causing for some tough competition, stacked up alongside the non-transforming YOLO Park kit. Personally, I really like this take on Primal. His design reminded me a lot of the Black Panther suit, and it was a shame that much like Cheetah and Rinox, it wasn't utilised more in the movie. The articulation I think is good, could have been better considering this is basically a Voyager scale robot priced as a leader class, which speaking of, I really think for the price point, they maybe could have done a better job at hiding the obvious beast mode feat, but instead they kind of fill the box up with some extra accessories, which whilst are cool, I wouldn't have minded not seeing them for a slightly better engineered figure. Transformation is quite involved, and much like Cheetah and Rinox, is completely different to the engineering that we have come to expect from Beast Wars Optimus Primal figures, which I think is cool because it helps keep things refreshed instead of feeling like they're being rinsed and repeated. And the beast mode I think looks banging, especially detail wise. The head sculpt is wicked and I think is pretty much almost masterpiece worthy. Articulation in the rear legs unfortunately is quite limited, and again for the price I think they could have done a better job in hiding the obvious bot mode feat, but I can't lie, it is epic to finally complete the core Maximal cast, and it is so cool to see Beast Wars adapted into live action, and Rise of the Beast honestly just left me wanting more, so I cannot wait to see these guys hopefully pop up again in the future. Now we jump into the runner-up spot, and without a doubt, this had to be given to Bumblebee. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. What a fantastic comeback for Studio Series Bumblebee figures. I really think this is one of their best yet. Top tier plastic, spot on details, especially if you can pick up the revised version which has the added paint on the faceplate. It really is just a super well made Bumblebee figure, and for a figure which is number 100 in the line, it's pretty impressive to see how far quality wise Bumblebee figures have come since the first clunker entry. The Chimera mode is cool, not too dissimilar to the past ones, but I do like the improvement of them finally using clip-on clear pieces for the windows to prevent any ugly colour mismatch like we've been seeing in the past couple of years, although the undercarriage kibble unfortunately is a bit of a sore sight, and I hope is something that they can begin to very quickly phase out for the next release. Which leaves only one, and of course, still taking the champion spot and showing the true power of a Prime is number 102, Optimus Prime. Honestly, I really think this is by far one of the best Primes released so far for the Studio Series. I've had this now for a couple of months and can honestly say that I'm still as in awe by it as I was the second I picked him up. The robot mode is pretty much perfection. The front and the back of the figure are super nicely detailed, and I really like how they completely refined the design when compared to the B-movie Studio Series 30A. I think this is also the first Optimus Prime ever to feature an actual ab crunch, which is just epic, especially as I love to pose these guys in crazy ways, and it's so cool to see them sculpting the hips in a way which kind of resembles drop down joints, which again just allows for some fantastic posing. The transformation is quite straightforward, which is surprising considering how crazy good the robot mode is, although unfortunately results in a cost, that being the truck mode, which looks great from the front and even from a slight side angle, but the second you turn that bad boy to the back, damn, it's kinda nasty. It's a shame they dropped the ball at the last hurdle with this one, but this and his tiny ass blaster are all set to see some huge upgrades with the release of, again, another DNA design upgrade kit, which I think will pretty much fix all of the issues, including the oddly designed shoulders. Overall though, none of those issues are enough to detract from what I think is ultimately one of the best Optimus Prime figures which have ever been released. And so, that wraps up this ranking for the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts 2023 lineup. Now, I imagine I'll do a revised version of this once we get a hold of both Scorponok and Wheeljack, but until then, you guys have left to look forward to the enormous end of year ranking video where I'll be taking every single release that we've so far seen for the line this year and stacking them up alongside each other, which is going to be a colossal video, as I think 2023 has got to be one of the best years for Studio Series yet. Definitely be sure to sound off down in the comment section below. What do you guys think of the ranking? What do you think of the video? And until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.